1 second. Are we still, what's going on? Are we live?
Yes, normally. Can you check it?
I don't see any, okay. I don't see anything being presented. I don't see anything on the YouTube channel.
I'm
on it. It's on.
Is someone can confirm it's on?
Unless it cut off.
Okay. I can just go ahead and get started if everybody, it's recording, I think. So we can just go ahead just in the interest of time. All right, welcome everybody to the June Académie Lafayette Board of Directors meeting. Hold on, I don't have that. All right. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at the agenda. If there are no changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda as it was presented last week.
This is Gwen. I move to approve the agenda.
All right,
Harriet second.
all right, motion second. Any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? No. All right, motion carries. Did we have somebody sign up for stakeholder comments? Thought we did.
Yes, we have Mr. Klinkenberg,
Okay.
and he is on.
Okay, Mr. Klinkenberg, please introduce yourself, and then you have the floor for, I think it's 3 minutes.
Great. Thank you.
So, floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Klinkenberg. I am a parent of an incoming kindergartner and very, very excited to be part of the AL family. I just want to reiterate that I'm an older parent, and I have had many, many friends come through the school with tremendous experiences. And some of my close friends even have their kids graduating from college now. That's a little how much older I am than a lot of the typical parents. So we got a late start, but we are super excited to be part of the AL family. I want to talk about some of the COVID task force and issues tonight. I know it's probably everybody's least favorite subject, but I have a number of concerns, and I'll try to be as quick as I can. I just want to say I know that there's a task force. My wife has asked for the contact information a couple times and not received anything, so we'd be happy to talk with them. But I also, know how it is that I manage a lot of boards of directors in my job, and I've served on many more. And I understand that ultimately the board is the one who gets to make these decisions, regardless of any committees or task forces. So that's why I wanted to talk with you tonight. My concerns really are, I don't really understand why we are where we are with the restrictions for the students and for the school. We're at a place right now where we don't have any mandates of any kind in our city and our state. And as adults, all of us can go anywhere we want, regardless of vaccination status, do pretty much anything we want to do, often in crowded venues. Our families all do the same when we get together at home, and our kids, and we're always in mixed company. And from what I can see around our city, it seems like that's the norm, the overwhelming norm at this point, without any masks or without any social distancing or anything. And so I don't understand why we're still requiring masks for small children in our schools and having them keep their distance when their entire lives really outside the schools are not requiring that. I would just say, our experience as a family the last year, we've had our 2 kids in daycare at Westport Montessori. often with other students who were kindergartners, first graders at AL and other schools. No masks, no social distancing, and frankly, no issues. And it's disheartening now that our kindergartner has to come into summer program and all of a sudden start wearing a mask and social distancing. And we are, as parents, we're really concerned about the effects of this on our kids and some of the things that we can't possibly know about that could be long-term effects. So I would just, say again, virtually every school district in the region has removed their mandates. Some never had anything at all. And I really think it would be great for AL to move forward. I think this school has an incredible history of innovation and leadership and people willing to go against the grain to do what's right for the kids. And I would hope that we could fulfill that tradition by moving past the COVID mandates and getting our kids' lives back to normal as quickly as we can. And I guess I just feel really strongly right now that we've asked our kids to sacrifice so much in the last year. And I would ask that all of us as adults do everything possible to heal that and get their lives to normal right away. So that's really about it. And be happy to follow up with anybody at another time as well.
All right. Well, thank you for your comments. We appreciate them. Definitely will take them into consideration, I believe. I think someone at the very least should give you access to the reopening committee or the task force. That's what we rely on a lot as board members on them. So I think at least someone should get you in contact with them or get you their contact information. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is were there any other stakeholders before we move on? Carlos?
I had to unmute myself, sorry. No, there were not.
Okay. All right. Approval of the May meeting minutes is next. So I'll entertain a motion. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review.
So moved to approve the minutes. This is Harriet.
Second, Beth.
All right, motion second. Any questions or comments to the May meeting minutes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting minutes are approved. Item number 4, I have UCM annual overview report. Oversight.
I don't see
Vicky's not on.
that. Maybe we can move forward. When she comes, we can give her the floor to do it.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that item. We'll table that for now. PTO report, did Alonda get back on? I know she dropped for a second. I don't know if she's been added back.
I don't think she was added back, but she said she couldn't get back in. So I think she didn't have anything to report.
Okay.
Did she
Does
try to
any-
get back?
Go ahead.
I said, did she try to get back or?
I don't know.
I'm not sure, Mr. Banks. She said she did, but I think she was at a restaurant, so it might have just been her connection too.
Does anybody know off the top of their heads, the last PTO meeting? When they had one? I don't know if it's been a while, I think, or with this year, it's been kind of.
Yeah, it was last month. I probably have it on my calendar.
Okay, so probably no updates since then.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, she says she didn't have any updates. She just texted me. She says she doesn't have anything to report today.
Got it. Okay. All right. We'll move on next to the Finance Committee report. Harriet and Jackie.
Right. Good evening. So, Mr. Bang, next slide. So the items that we review are accounts payable, our DESI payments, our actual year-to-date with our projections, some updates on federal programs, food, our CSP, which is our federal high school grant, So we'll go through some of those as we go. But accounts payable for May, we in our finance committee, there were several questions that came up. We had quite a few substitute agencies. Our bus service increased to about 36,000 for April as we returned more students to school. A little additional database, COVID spraying. So we're still doing electrostatic spraying. About 30,000-ish in setting up all those Chromebooks. So we had all the funds to make sure everybody had a Chromebook in every building and the cost to set them up and add the software. Also went along with that. There was an IB registration and several of them. So that's several thousand, and that is also attributable to the CSP grant. And another mobile citizen, we updated believe it or not, it was a year ago when we got our first license for all the mobile devices that we distributed. So that came up again. So later in the report, we'll go through the DESI payments and actual year-to-date and projections. Okay, next. We'll go through these.
Jackie, let's move to approve accounts
Yeah,
payable.
we need to do that. Okay.
Move to approve accounts payable. This Harriet.
Second, Mike.
All right, motion second. Any questions or discussion on approving the accounts payable for May? Hearing none. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 While we're doing this, rather than wait till the very end, the other motion that's needed is we wanted to talk about the salary scale. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait till?
Hold on, we still got to finish voting on this.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
Any opposed to accounts payable? Okay, hearing none. All right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who second.
Michael Bland second.
Okay, thank you.
So motion carries. All the ayes have it. Okay, now you can move on, Jackie.
Jackie, let's go on down the list and at the end do the recommendation to increase the salary.
Okay, so we have a whole bunch of slides to go through that go through each one of these, so we can do it at the very end. Just remind me that we need to go back to that. So the next few slides will go pretty quickly because this is enrollment budget to actual. You can see that we haven't been there all year long. And the root cause of that at this point is the enrollment and under enrollment, about 55 students. So that was the driver for that. Now that we've gotten our per pupil amount back up, the main cause of that decreased revenue is lack of students. Okay, next one. You can see that we've started dismally in our basic formula and had the hold harmless issues that were released. So in May, we were back up to almost $8,300 per pupil. So we feel comfortable with all of the projections that we've made using the $8,500, which would include the Kansas City Public School payments. So we're continuing to use that $8,500. Next. And again, revenue budget to actual, as you can see, under, and again, due to the enrollment issues. Okay, next one. Now expenditures are the next one. And as you can see from that, next one. There we go. Expenditures are also way under budget, which is what has led us to have almost a break even this year, which is explained in the next slide. So our year-to-date actual, all of our year-to-date actual revenue is about 11.7 million. And our forecast using the $8,500 per pupil and anticipated revenue is a little over 14 million, which means we're $846,000 under our budget for revenue. The biggest driver of that, as we've discussed with no changes, is that $660,000 that we're under for basic formula. and a lot of different smaller things go into that local and other. PTSO, fundraisers, some gifts and grants, because we budget them in this year, and they will come some of it next year. So this is not a lot different than previous reports. So when we get to expenses, again, the biggest driver that's helping out this year is the salary benefits, and we also included the contracted in here so that we can capture the additional substitute costs, and a little bit under for student and teacher resources. Still had enough for every classroom, distributed supplies, and all those kinds of things. But those are the two biggest drivers, which kept us about $973,000 under our expense budget. So the bottom line is that we had about $722,000 year to date revenue over expenses and $479,000. And if you go to the next slide, then we have to take out our debt service. And so if you can see this forecast, revenue over and under expenses, $120,446, which is an improvement from fall when we thought it would be almost $1 million deficit. So many things have happened. The basic formula came up. We are still working on attendance. So this is the best we have information. This is all actuals through April, and then really taking a strong look at everything we know of through at least last week of June. The biggest driver, any change, is going to be two things. One is going to be our updated average daily attendance. And right now we're still working through that because of the remote and seated changes that we've done since November, so that it makes the data analysis a little bit more difficult in getting reports out of our new database. So we're working on that. We're working with Westbrook. There have been some DESE workshops. So that number could change, could go up, it could go down. And we'll just, we're estimating the ADA at about 1,120 right now. So this is the good news. And then we'll have a lot more information next time. The other thing is, I think there were some ESSER expenses in here, and we haven't sent in the request for repayment on those. And I am not clear on how quickly that happens. Last time it happened pretty quickly, and we're working on getting that information so that I can request that we get reimbursed for some of the ESSER 2 funds. We were reimbursed already on ESSER 1 and the CARES Act. Okay, any questions? Okay, next. Just wanted to update you that we're diligently still working on our preliminary budget. We will have to have an additional meeting. We're working on staffing right now, new hires and summer school. We'll have a little more data on actual summer school, at least next week, when we have a week's worth of attendance to look at. And summer school is crucial again this year into our first draft of the budget. And the projections as presented, which I explained earlier, may change once all of our attendance data is in and we finalize the seated and remote hours. The current projections also assume that the CSP grant payment request and ESSER are received by the end of June. So the year end of 120,000 to the good may change, but all of that revenue would come in into the next fiscal year. We weren't able to resolve the capital issues with the oak stairs and tuck pointing. Need to get with the building committee. So that expense in terms of a capital expense won't happen in this fiscal year. So we will take that into account as we're looking at our budget for next year. The other thing that has not happened is you approved the window upgrades for Oak, and we started that project back in the fall and finalized it in February, and there's just some issues in terms of actually getting the supplies. So we're into a COVID supply chain issue here with those windows. So my guess is that won't go into this budget either. It'll go into next budget year. Projected food revenue will be updated once a waiver is verified. I think I reported last month that I was remiss and late on some data entry for reimbursement, and I have submitted a waiver. So we're waiting to hear that. One of the things that we discuss now is really looking at when we're doing our budget, realizing there are not very many, but there are some teachers that are in the 30th year of our scale. And Mr. Bang analyzed and looked at some of the other schools around. People did things a little bit differently, but in an effort to be fair and transparent, one of the things that the Finance Committee recommends is just extending the current salary scale to year 35. What that does is it just continues that the person in any of their lanes, their educational lanes, continue to get 1.5% increase from year 20 to 35 now.
From year 30 to 35.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at year 21 we start the increase goes to 1.5%. Yeah. So that just extends to year 35, which seems equitable. And we looked at it from a budget perspective in terms of the number of staff that will be affected over the next several years, and feel like it's a justifiable change to the salary scale.
At this point, we have only one employee who is in that case. There's another one who just retired. As a immersion school, we have every interest in keeping those teachers here as opposed to leaving us, because they're very, they're effective, and not giving them an increase is a sort of penalizing them, yet they're doing a fantastic job and we need to keep them. The more teachers stay with us, the better it will be for the kids.
So we need a motion to approve the pay scale to go from 30 to 35 years at 1.5% increase each year.
This is Gwen Poss. I move that we update the salary scale to reflect the 1 to 1.5% from what year 21 to 35. I don't know. Correct me if I said that wrong.
No, you said that very well. And I'll second that. Said that very well.
Motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay, I think I'm through. I just wanted to reiterate that the CSP, that's the Charter School Programs Federal Grant, we submitted a lot of data for a review. The on-site review is really going to be a Zoom review, and that will be July 13th, 14th, and 15th. I've spoken with Beth, and she will be available on one of the days to talk about the school as the board member, and I'll probably need one other person a couple of days later. The reviews go from 9 to 12:30 every day for those 3 days, and include a review of the grant, all of our expenditures, staying on budget, the staff that are involved, and the curriculum and outcomes for high school. So just wanted you all to be aware of that.
And one other thing, John, we're going to have a Zoom meeting or a phone meeting to approve the budget by the end of the month.
Right.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, no, I think we talked about that last week, and so we'll talk about that under, I guess we can talk about it now. If there's any time that everyone's available, maybe we can just go 2 weeks from now. Is that what we talked about, Michael or Beth? I don't know if you remember what we talked about.
We do it at the retreat.
We talked about that, but I know that the retreat, I guess the agenda is pretty packed already. So I don't know how much time it would take and how long we have in the retreat. So I don't know if we just do a 45-minute board meeting to approve the budget. We've done that in the past, or, well, you know, I'll leave it up to you guys, to be honest, what day
Jack-
works to do it.
Jackie,
Yeah,
can
I
you-
think we talked about the 28th, just doing a 45-minute. I think I looked at last year's calendar. It was kind of like the Monday or 2 Mondays after this. I know it's right after your retreat, so it's another commitment, but I think you'll have the packet ahead of time. You know, a lot of the data and explanation of how the budget was formed was done in March. So this will be kind of finalization of the staffing and our understanding of the per pupil amount to put in next year.
So
28th works for me.
yeah, so everybody should just put it on their calendar for the 28th. We do
What
it at,
time? What time on the 28th, please?
how about, do it at 6?
That's fine.
Instead of 6.
Did you say 6?
For everybody,
Okay.
you do it at 6?
Thank you.
Okay. So 6 o'clock on the 28th, hopefully less than an hour meeting to approve the budget. Everybody's got that on their calendars. Hopefully we'll have a quorum.
I'll send it out now as a calendar to everybody.
Okay, that's perfect.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question, Jackie?
Sure.
On the, where you have the summer school projected at 700, like, how is that impacted by the students that don't attend all the days and don't end full time? Or if kids are picked up an hour or two early, do we not get the money for the day, or how does that?
Good question. And the answer is yes to all the above. So it's just like there's no change in summer, just like the school year. So it's the number of hours each one of those bodies is in a seat. So, you know, enrolled, you know, this year, I think we asked to please designate a session, meaning an entire session, hopefully. And then of course, there's crossover to sessions where people are coming to both. So again, the critical piece is if you signed up and change your mind, we are now staffed up for that many students at each session. It's about 680, I believe, and kind of growing. I think there are people who filled out intent to attend and didn't realize sometimes that there are some other forms that need to be filled out. So we're walking through some of those, but it's the same as a regular school year. Very crucial because we've staffed up to meet the number of students that have signed up.
And what if someone leaves, you know, gets picked up an hour early or something? Does that?
Yeah, so what happens on that day, then we check them out. We're very cautious of careful of doing that. We check them out and they lose the hour that day. So if somebody leaves every day because of
Okay, so they just lose an hour and not the whole day.
That is correct. Yeah, some states have, like, you show up and you get for the whole day. For us, it's minute by minute. So if you leave 15 minutes early, come in 30 minutes late, that's a reduction in the minutes.
Okay, and for summer school too. Okay.
And I didn't hear, where are we with what we thought was going to be showing up last week and who's actually showing up? Like, how far off are we there?
Well, we don't know. We start Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see how many show up. I think the last count was around 680 per session and a little bit more than that, with more kids signing up last week. So our projections in our current budget were around 700. The good thing is if we see that change, we can make some budget adjustments. And they did some pre-work to really establish some learning loss goals for all the staff to use over the summer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else, Jackie, or anybody have any other questions for Jackie or the Finance Committee?
Jackie, I have a question. When was the last time we did a salary review, a competitive market analysis? You know, how teachers might be compensated at Académie Lafayette versus neighboring school districts?
That was this would be going into year 4. Is that right, Mr. Bang?
If you look at it, the one we have, isn't it 2019, 2020? Last
I
year?
think, yeah, I think you made some adjustments in terms of the extension, but I think the teacher's salary was 2017, 18.
The last one,
And so
I think okay, but yeah, it might be 4 years now.
I just wondered what the frequency the board would like to see as far as, are we competitive, are we not? And just perhaps that's something that can be addressed at a future meeting.
We've pretty much assumed to do it every 3 to 4 years. We've looked at it.
At the beginning of the salary, we're low. At the end, we may be fine. But the beginning is low, the start salary.
That's what was my perception of it. So I was curious as to when how are we losing people because of that?
No, we're not. No matter what, we just need, as you say, to be fair to our teachers and try to compensate them fairly. But we're not. In fact, we've attracted people coming from other school districts. They pay more to our school because of either their parents or because of the condition. We've attracted people, of course, who come from. It's rare to have our own teachers go to other schools because of salary. I have known only one case where it was the salary. It's a long time.
No, let me correct that. The big change that we made was in that 17, 18. And I think you're right. In 19, you changed the first lane for the bachelor's, and then that changed the whole salary scale.
We add 5. We instead of 2.5, we did 5% increase that year, 18, 19, I think. But it's still low. The beginning.
All right. Any other questions? Is that it, Jackie?
Yes, that's it for me.
And one more difference about our salary metrics and the other school district. Many school districts stop at 25. After 25, until they revise it, you're not getting an increase. One of the reasons why we move our to the end. If you were at the end of salary metric on any other school district, our teachers will be very competitive on that. So, and then since we have a high school now, we will be competing against other school districts for teachers. So it might be another whole issue that we need to resolve. Yeah.
And one of our goals, and one of the things that we've been working on and working with Bellwether, is to do that salary scale analysis using Lisa Kais, our HR consultant, and some pre-work has already been done, I think, with some other schools and Missouri Charter. So we just need to look at the data and then talk about that later.
I agree. I do think it's a good thing to just keep an eye on. I think our school is successful because of our staff and our teachers. So making sure we continue to be competitive, I think, is a good thing to always keep on the radar.
I think from what I heard in the past, the board made a commitment that every 2 or 3 years they'll look at it now. Jackie?
Yes.
So this is the 3rd year?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to start looking into that for the following, not for this coming year, but the following one, and look at it.
Okay. Anything else? Any further discussion on that? Hearing going once. Seems like somebody comes at the last second. All right, we're moving on. Development Committee report. Michelle.
Celia, you're here?
I'm here. Here, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Currently, the Development Department is assembling a highly targeted prospect lists while we're sourcing through different channels and building new relationships for potential partnerships for AL that we've never touched before. We're mapping out events for visibility and connectivity for AL, which is kind of landscaping out throughout our community surroundings. We're also recruiting for new committee members and how they would best serve the department with their skills and talents, as well as working on enhancing our communication plan that will enable us to effectively deliver information opportunities. The plan will identify the messages AL is promoting, sharing, and how it's going to be distributed through revenue opportunities. I think the next, there we go. Any questions?
And we will update on the calendar, but we've updated within the committee with vacation schedules and other things going on. We're going to have one meeting in the summer between June and July instead of two. And we need to get that updated so that it's on the public calendar.
I think it's being updated already, Michelle.
Oh, did it get updated? Good.
I don't think she did. I know she was having, Alix was having some difficulty with her internet, I think.
Okay.
So, should be here hopefully by the end of the week.
Awesome. And that's it for development, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? Comments? No, good job, guys. Governance committee report, Beth.
Slide we have up shows diversity. Are we doing governance?
Oh, I'm going off of the one that Mr. Banks sent. So it looks like diversity got flipped in the actual slide. So sorry, you can go ahead. Yeah, diversity committee. Kelly, sorry.
That's okay. The diversity committee has been working on, been revising the goals and rewriting diversity goals. Key actions are being developed. We are going measuring success have been identified, and so we're just trying to think of develop some relevant data for that. Final work will be submitted at our board meeting or retreat for approval on June the 26th. I will say that the diversity committee has been making great strides. I think we have a great team of new committee members, and I do have to say that I mean, I just like how we're working together and really coming up and having some really great conversations that I think will not only benefit you know, the school, but benefit even the children there. So just want to give us some kudos out to the diversity committee for really working hard and really trying to stay on top of a lot of this stuff and working with Mr. Obang. So we're making great strides. So I'm really excited about what we've been doing and what we've done. So.
All right. Thank you. I think you guys, you guys have been doing a lot of good work, in my opinion. I like that we have measurable, we've identified measurable goals to measure ourselves by. So that's key, in my opinion, to hold.
Yeah, I think so too, John. And it's you know, I do have to, you know, Beth has been really great in working with us as a committee and really kind of guiding us as well as Mr. Obang. So I just, you know, I think we're just doing really a good job, and the conversations, I think, are conversations that we really need to have, and it's making a huge difference. So.
Okay.
No questions.
Anybody else have any questions? I noticed in the slides, the reason why governance committee didn't show up is because there's not a slide for governance committee. So we'll do that.
Let me refresh it. I have to refresh it to get it there.
Okay. But while he's refreshing,
pardon?
I said, while he's refreshing, we can just go ahead if you want. I don't know if was there any slide?
Yes.
Okay.
The problem we're having is we don't have access normally to YouTube because it was blocked. So it was blocked because of, let me go and present here.
Probably
I
think.
mean, it's not critical if we have those slides. So while you're working on that, we might go ahead and
Right.
continue the conversation if that works for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. We can just kind of move forward.
Right. I think we know the points that need to be addressed. I mean, I think the first thing on the governance committee is just the board officer positions that we talked about at the last meeting that we need to take a vote on tonight. I think the positions that were recommended at last meeting was myself as president, Michael as vice president, and Michelle as secretary. So my guess is we just need to entertain a motion around that unless there's questions.
Yeah.
I move to approve all 3 positions.
Okay. There you go. I was going to say we could do it all at once or but
Let's do it all together.
Tested. So
I'll second it, Kelly Baker.
Okay. All right. Motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, comments? All right. I think we are in good hands going forward. And I'm looking forward to not running meetings anymore. Anyway, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, welcome the new officers for Académie Lafayette starting July 1st.
Congratulations.
I did.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item, we have our board retreat coming up on June 26th. You'll see the time shifted just slightly. We'll start at 9:15, and that's because Shireen, who's helping to facilitate, she's not available till 9:30. So we just shifted back 9:15. We'll still end at 1 o'clock. Gwen has been a fabulous help just finalizing the agenda. I just looked right before we logged into this meeting. It looks like everybody has now completed the Google form, which was the final thing that we needed in order to really finalize our plans and determine how we want to move forward. The question did come up by email just as far as how do we want to manage. It does look like we have about 50-50. So 50% of us want to be in person, 50% of us want to be virtual. So we just need to determine what policies we follow and have to follow the policies of the school. So Mr. Mbang, really looking to you to say, what are the social distancing policies currently at the school that we need to follow?
And will we have technology set up to where the people who are remote will be able to participate?
Yes.
You know,
I mean, because Mr. Mbang reminded me, this is what our teachers do every day. So our classrooms are sort of set up for each of us will get a Chromebook from the school. So we'll each log in individually so we can be seen and heard in the discussion. And then it will be put up on the screen as well. So I thought we needed to sort of test all of this out and figure out if it works, but they do it every day. So.
right. Okay, so we'll each have our own, the people who are in person will have their own computer. So it won't just look like a conference room talking out. It'll look like people interacting. Okay, that's good.
Correct, because then they can also be heard. It's not just being able to see everybody. You can hear people a lot better if you're sitting at a computer. So yeah, I think, and we won't use our own laptops. We'll use school laptops because they can more easily get on internet and Wi-Fi and everything that we'll need. So I think we will just each have a laptop from the school for the morning. Does that sound right to you, Mr. Mbang?
Yes, yeah, it will be just the same as you described. We'll use the school Chromebooks so that those who are online can see you guys. And then we will use one of the TV so that you can see those who are online.
So the board members that will be virtual will need to come in and pick up a Chromebook?
No, they can use those who are virtual at home can use their own device unless they don't have one. If they don't have one, we can give them one, but their own device will be just fine.
Okay.
It's
Thank you.
just for those coming in person will need to use the school devices.
So one thing I don't know, maybe our meeting tomorrow, Gwen, are you planning to do breakout session, breakout rooms, or is it going to be the whole group all the time, or how it's going to work?
We can talk about that a little bit tomorrow, and I'll just try and get my head wrapped around how we're going to do this, and we'll brainstorm that tomorrow.
Okay, good.
So as far as people coming in person, there was the question as far regarding parents observing the board meeting. I do think that would remain virtual. It would be sort of live streamed on YouTube as it always is, so that we could make sure to maintain appropriate social distancing. I think, so then in my mind, the only other question is for those of us in person, I assume all adults in the building still need to wear a mask, correct? Or if you're vaccinated, do you not have to wear a mask? Where is the school currently on your palette?
At this point, our policy is everybody in the building wear the mask.
Yeah.
So even though we're going to restaurants and coffee shops without a mask. So, but at this point, that's our policy, our safety policy.
So then if you're speaking while you're in the in-person meeting, you're speaking in a mask?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a Saturday. What do you want? I mean, you can talk about, as a board member, you can see it's going to be a Saturday, no kids will be around. If you choose not to wear a mask, that's something else. I think it's something that it may be a board rule, because at this point, no kids or teacher is around. It's you alone. If you choose to say we're not going to wear a mask, that's going to be up to you. But I'm just telling you what is the policy at this point of what we do when we're in session.
Seems like we should follow the policy of the school.
Right. Yes, I agree. I don't think as board members we should be breaking school policy. I also think, I mean, the school should keep an eye on what are the latest CDC recommendations, connecting with our newest board member, Dr. Jen Goldman, who can help to advise as to when can you switch to vaccinated individuals not wearing that, right? So, but I think right now the policy is everybody wears a mask at all times. And so I think as board members, it would be important for us to follow that as well. Any other questions, thoughts regarding the retreat? Okay. The next piece is, I think everybody saw the email a few weeks ago that UCM is no longer continuing to be a charter sponsor. So we will need to go through the process of identifying who our new sponsor will be. In the Kansas City area, the majority of our other charter schools, I was going to look up the name of it. They are all through Missouri Charter Public School Commission, with one school that gets their sponsor through KCPS. But I know UCM offered to help manage the identifying new sponsors and helping us identify what we need in a new sponsor, and had indicated they might be convening that conversation in mid-July. So we will keep everybody updated on that process. But right now, our next step is just connecting with UCM to really identify how they're convening that conversation and what additional interviews we might need to do with potential sponsors. They do want us to identify by September who our new sponsor will be, but UCM will continue to sponsor if needed through June of 2022. So we do have a little bit of a window there. And as you all know, we got our 10-year charter approval. So we're not up for approval for quite a few years still. So we're in a good position. So there's nothing overly concerning about having to go through the process. Any other thoughts on that? The final thing, Mr. Mbang, I'll let you talk about. I know you shared out a couple of those documents for policy approval. As we look sort of quickly through, particularly in the organizational policies, there were some things that Michelle had emailed and a couple others that in our governance committee we noticed aren't currently accurate. So do you want to sort of talk about what those are, and can we have a little more time to read through those before we need to approve them?
Yes. Let's make those changes before you approve them. Is Dana there?
I didn't see her on here.
Jackie is still there, so she was working with Dana about this policy approval.
I wonder if this is
Yes,
something.
I'm still here. I haven't seen those emails, but yes, we need to get together because we were looking at the finance section. There's several things that we need to change just because we do things a little bit differently, or we've customized to some of our processes. So yes, we can definitely make those changes, and thank you for identifying them. And if you send them, I guess Mr. Bang has them, then we can get back with Dana and work on those.
Okay, who should get the email about possible changes?
So I think what you can do is approve these by integrating these changes so we can put them there. What do you think?
Right, so approve the section with the whatever the numbers are that we need to review.
On the organization policy, there are certain changes that was proposed by Michelle. So do you want me to put it there and then you could approve it with those changes, or what do you want to do?
I think so. There are other, as I was sort of looking through, there are other things that we noticed are also inaccurate, and it was a really quick review that I did.
Okay.
So I mean, if it doesn't need to be approved tonight, if we can have a little bit more time to look more closely through it, I think that would be helpful to make sure we're approving a fully accurate document. But I wasn't sure the timeline as to when this needs approval.
Well, that's fine, because the board is meeting again on the 28th. It will give more time for board members to whatever, make any changes they want, and approval will not take more than 5 minutes, I think.
Okay. Yeah. That would be helpful.
Beth, if you see, I would like to know what, when you find it, you need to do an email that, so I can follow along your changes or what you're recommending. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, so that Michelle, I went and looked at what she was talking about, just like that.
Yep. And I think it makes sense for anybody. So if collectively, if we look more closely at that document, just email the whole group of recommended revisions so that, to your point, Harriet, we can all see what changes need to be made. I think works for me if it works for everybody else.
Okay, so the decision is you will be examining those policy revision on the 28th, and by then any suggested change will be emailed to everyone, and we'll make before we get there.
Right. Yeah. So it would just be a quick approval. Going into the 28th, we could have made any changes we need by email or recommend.
Do these need to get approved by January 1 or July 1 or something?
So those are the policies that was proposed by Dana. I don't know why. I mean, maybe.
I guess, why is there such a rush here? Do they need to be adopted, or are previous policies expiring, or what's the?
I'll get back to her and inform you.
Okay. And in the future, please send a more detailed description when you send these out, so that one, people will read them, and two, we know what we're reading and what to look for, because we literally didn't look at these till right before this meeting to see that they are not 100% accurate. So just for the future.
Yes.
It's helpful to us.
I think that there is a process of every year revising, and that Dana is doing and proposing to the board. So I'll talk to her and see how she can integrate those suggestions, and then make the change necessary for the next meeting.
Sounds good. There's one final piece actually that's not on there, and that is, we know we're asking a lot of board members in the month of June, and we know summer is a little bit more of a struggle for everyone. So we were going to put on the table possibly skipping our July meeting, but wanted to get feedback as to if anybody else has concerns if we don't have a July board meeting. We know attendance is oftentimes kind of low in midsummer. Wanted to get thoughts.
Can we have our new board member join the retreat?
Yes, so she is planning to be there at the retreat. Yes.
Okay, so then she would start to get integrated without missing a July board meeting.
Correct.
I'm good.
I don't think
I'm
anybody
good with
cares.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with, I mean, good with if we wanted to skip July since we're having the late June meetings.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the August meeting isn't until the way that the month works out. It's not till like mid-August, the way the Mondays work out. So it'll be a decent little break. So I wanted to just make sure there wasn't anything we're missing. I don't think there is, but
I was suggesting to check your board calendar.
Yeah, we checked it. I don't think there was anything. Beth, is that correct?
Yes, I looked at it and it didn't look like there's anything on the general calendar that needed to be addressed.
The only thing I see coming, and it can be done later, is, and I talk about it, the bellwether report about our organizational assessment that might be presented to the board.
Any issue if that's in August?
Yeah, no problem. Shouldn't be a problem.
And if there's no
Here, I do have you just brought up the fact that our sponsor may want to meet with us, and USC or whatever their name is, they were supposed to come and give a report.
UCM.
And now we're putting everything into August for a report, finding somebody, because we have to then in September lock it down. At this point, I mean, that's if we haven't really had a discussion, and that puts us under the firing line to even have that discussion in August in case we have a disagreement on who our sponsors should be. I just all of a sudden I thought, and we haven't had whatever their names are come.
UCM, yeah.
They may want to
They're
come.
supposed to be here today, but didn't show up.
Not yet. I don't know. Yeah, they may have to do the report at some point before August. I don't know. I haven't heard. I called her too and see.
I guess my point would be maybe we could just have a meeting on charter sponsors and a meeting on that, and not have a board meeting.
Yeah, so maybe we could do, so hopefully, I thought wasn't part of our goal or plan was to reach out to UC or Vicky and kind of get a timeline from her anyway. And then at the meeting in 2 weeks or the retreat, whenever we hear from her, then we can say, oh, we need to have a special meeting to just talk about that, which hopefully wouldn't take more than a half hour or an hour. And we could just schedule something in late July or whenever as a Zoom call, so where we don't need everybody on the call, but we still would be there to gather information and hear from her as needed at some point in July or in between the now and the June or our August meeting.
Yeah, my guess is it is going to be a special meeting just to sort of talk through charter sponsorship, because my impression was UCM might be convening potential sponsors with all of the schools who need a sponsor. So that was my impression from Vicky's email, that would be the next step. And so there would be a smaller group of us that would need to sort of join that meeting when it happens and then present back to the larger board, I would guess. But it's a great question.
Yeah, no, good point, Harriet. So I think hopefully we'll know more by in 2 weeks. And we can talk about it then.
Right.
Okay.
So for now, we'll leave it on the calendar until we figure out the process for charter sponsors.
Got it. All right, head of school report.
Robin, are you ready?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Robin King, Director of Admissions. And here are the current enrollment numbers as of today. You can see that. Are there any questions as you guys looked over this previous?
Are these new students coming in?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't report returning, just incoming.
That's really great on a year where enrollment is down all over the city. That's really great.
Thanks, Michelle. If there aren't any other questions, we can move to the next slide. This is actually a view from School App KC, and it shows our initial applications, then our offers, and then the acceptances, and then the completions. And actually completions is not actually true. We kind of leave them open so the nurses can finish their immunization updates and such, as well as myself finishing up with residency. But the first 3 columns, you can just see where it starts at 100%, goes to 87%. And then there's 2 different, there's a 74 and a 64%, but you can see where we, basically that's all kind of like our return. So that is our high percentage. Any questions on that? All right, next is our 9th grade. So I do have the returning information at this time. And then the incoming with the 5, total about 32. And not returning 10th grade, and then our wait list. So our wait list, we do have, as you can see, 43 for pre-K, 19K, 27 first, 12, 9th, and 10, 10th. Any questions on that?
Remind me why we have a wait list for like 9th grade because of the cap that we set.
Right.
Did you answer?
Right, yes. I talked that through.
I was like, yeah. And that also shows interest. Any other questions on that slide? All right, you can move on to the next one. And actually it's events. So yesterday was the first pre-K graduation. It was beautiful, lovely, and those students will be attending summer school starting on Wednesday. And there are some lovely pictures for you to view.
They're cute.
The lovely kiddos. Myself and Heather Royce were there along with one of the pre-K teachers that is the French pre-K teacher. Former student Lauren Hendrickson was there as well, and she played her ukulele with the kids to sing a song because that's what they learn in the class. Okay, you can go back. KC EAR is actually an engagement roundtable of people like me and other schools around the city. We get together, and I'm hosting this month, so we will do that for June. And then next up, we will have a kindergarten fair, actually June 26th, again at Emmanuel. And then we will have a bounce back to school event. It's sponsored by Samuel Rogers, and that will happen July 31st. And then also a Planning Neighborhood canvassing event, July 16th. Should switch those around as well with, and that's actually with Show Me Casey Schools. Any questions? And then there should be one more last slide. Yes. So the group again of the schools for School App KC met, and we have voted for our dates already for our applications for 22-23. And this needs to go up for board approval. I will read the dates. So the open application will be November 13th. And then the deadline will be March 1st. Lotteries will be held between March 2nd and the 7th. Offers will be made to the public on March 7th at 4 p.m. And then the deadline to accept that first round offer is March 14th. And so I will need board approval.
And I assume this aligns with what all of the other schools, sort of their dates.
Yes, so about maybe 16 or so of us vote. It was actually voted unanimously. And then we also look at the dates around here as well as with KCPS. And then we also look at other cities as well. Other cities are looking at our app, and then we also look at others to get an idea. And the November 13th is in line with the school fair. And we've been doing that every year, opening up on that day.
John, does the board only vote on the open application or on everything, you know?
That is a good question. I mean, I thought we voted on like our calendar when we talk about the lottery and things like that. But it possibly is, from what I recall, I think it's just the application dates, open and close, I believe, but I don't think it, I'm trying to think if there's any legal reason why we wouldn't vote to just approve these dates as they are here. Anybody else recall or have any comments? I don't think it's an issue. We're approving more than we need to. So if there are no comments or questions or concerns about voting to approve this, then I'll entertain a motion to approve these application dates for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Second, Tanya Heinen.
All right, motion a second. Any other further discussion, comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you. And I think that's all.
Okay, as we be closing the school year, just would like to recognize all our staff for a tough but great year also, because they worked really hard. It was emotionally difficult for teachers, staff, and everyone. So I would like to say thank you for each and every one. This is the Cherry Building Leadership Team. As you see them, very engaged, very enthusiastic, and working hard together. It was a good team. And for next year, as I sent you the email, I sent you to inform you that Mulai Saidi would be the new Cherry Vice Principal. Oak will have his principal and vice principal, Cherry also. And for Alma, it's gonna take another couple of years based on our projections and our planning to get a vice principal too. Our goal is to have each building a principal, vice principal, and building operation manager that will take care of everything except for the teaching and learning, that it will be taken care of by the principal. Oak also, the entire staff, as you see them here, they're enjoying the new bench over there. The blue one is the new benches we bought. So after a year that teaching that requires so many adaptation and sacrifices from all, so the principal wants to recognize the whole staff, and also grateful for Molly King, who's been taking good care of the uniform closet, Catherine Vanderbilt, Sasha Marty, for the beautification of the campus. So those are parents that has been also very helpful volunteering at Oak. Armor, for those who attended the graduation, you can see how the 8th grade team worked really hard. Madam Debles, Muriel, Aisha Toure, Jackie Lawless, Celestine Wabo, and Swan Balde for their invaluable contribution to the students' 2021 graduation. So they did a good job preparing students for graduation ceremony. But more importantly, they prepared them to be lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and positive contributors to humanity. I should say that, again, our teachers, all of them, did a great job. John shared with me at Lincoln, for instance, how well our kids were doing. The 3 top students are all our students. It shows again how great the job our teachers have been doing to prepare our kids, all of them, even though it's sometimes difficult, but we need to thank them for a great job for this year. And also our staff, our admin staff worked really hard too. I can think about all these ladies, Jackie and Carlos and Marsha and all of them, by the way, working hard. So thank you.
Yeah, just before you go on, just to be clear, so there were 2 valedictorians and a salutatorian at Lincoln. They all were AL grads, and they all got full scholarships to whatever college they're going to. So just, I think don't gloss over that fact that they, and I think a lot of the top 10% were also AL grads as well from Lincoln. So pretty
That is awesome. I love to just see the kudos to all the teams. I know this was an impossible year for everyone, and so many people just had to work around the clock. I wish we could do more to recognize them, because I know it was just a really tough year, but they came through an amazing way for kids. So yeah, I love seeing the kudos.
Yeah, we finished the school year with a in-person celebration and to celebrate our retiree. We have one who retired, and also all of them, and offered also breakfast to all our staff at Oak. So it was a good one. We could never say enough thank you very much to all of them.
And I was excited to see Mr. Sadie and the promotion he got. I've only known him as a teacher, but also on the diversity committee. He's been a wonderful member on the diversity committee and just such a thoughtful individual. So that's exciting to see the promotion there.
Thank you. So summer school, these are the numbers as of yesterday for session 1, session 2. Remember that each session lasts 2 weeks and a half. So altogether we have five weeks of summer school. So first session we'll have 759, and second session 747 students. One of the challenges we face planning for summer school is having enough qualified, experienced teacher for kindergarten, 1st grade, because most of those teachers decided, and rightfully, to take a break, a vacation. So we offered more incentive for other teachers who would like to come down and teach kindergarten and 1st grade. So we were able to staff the kindergarten and 1st grade classes with experienced teachers from other grades. So we've also paid a team of teachers to build the summer learning progressions, because we want to make sure that at least for English, math, and French, we make sure that the teaching and learning is of high quality, and then we follow our progressions based on our own curriculum. On Tuesday, tomorrow, then Oak and Cherry will have a meet and greet night to allow kindergarten families to get to know the K teachers, because remember that those kindergarten parents are brand new to the building, so they needed to see who is in charge of their kids during the summer. It's their first introduction to our school. They have been touring also the building with the principals, vice principals, walking around, showing the buildings. One more thing that we're doing this summer, we're offering a half credit of math course for ninth graders, for our ninth graders to be able to be ready for the math class. So we have qualified teachers. The fully qualified teacher who will be teaching it. It's going to be 3 hours a day for 25 days. It will be half credit for high school credit class. Any question about summer school? So academic report. As you may know, there was some issue with one-to-one distribution of Chromebooks, and then we decided that now we're not going to give the kids those K1 Chromebooks. We'll put them designated cards for each classroom. It's already done. And then we had also some issue of content blocker for our kids who take the Chromebook home or at school. They were able to access certain websites, especially YouTube and some games. So we had to decide to buy a content blocker to block any website that is not relative to our teaching and learning activities. One of the websites, by the way, blocked was YouTube, and that's why I just realized I knew about it today, and I'm trying to log in. Maybe that's why my computer was telling me this is a private whatever. It's a miracle that I was able even to present through YouTube. I don't know how it happened. Maybe I'm not connected, but anyway, it's working. So YouTube is blocked, and the IT department is working on unblocking it for the teachers because it was blocked for everyone. Student retention. One of our big challenges also with the pandemic is we have a high number of kids to be retained, not to be retained, but who have been struggling in kindergarten, first grade. Most of those kids have a combined number of days of absence of around 30, 40, 50, and even 60 days of absence. And few of the kids were, the retention were requested by the parents themselves. So what we did was we tried to work with those parents and build a plan and a commitment, because we want those kids not to be penalized by the pandemic, but at the same time, the parents accept to take the offer we're giving to those kids, like summer school, to bring them on to summer school, but also make sure that next school year they will not have more than 10 days of absence. We've also we're working on a plan, gross plan for each of those kids for the next year or so, and even 2 years, to make sure that by the time they finish third grade, they will be where they need to be. So I should say that there was an overrepresentation of minorities in that group. At this point, the number of kids that may be retained is almost the same rate of what we used to have in a normal year. And many of them is because the parents accepted to do that. Questions about these 3 points?
That's good.
So planning for next year, we still are facing the visa challenges. It's based on the pandemic. As you know, teachers, not teachers, but people from the Schengen space, citizens of Schengen space, or anybody, I would say it in another way, anybody who stayed for the last, I mean, how did they put it? 14 days, you cannot get into the United States. So the visas visa appointments are almost impossible. They're not getting it. At this point, all H1B and J1 appointment have been delayed. So we are working with the principal to put in place a plan B to resolve the situation. Plan B with a very limited number of foreign teachers. We're lucky to have we've found a couple of teachers in the US and in Canada that will not need to go back and get a visa. So we hope that it will work. We're trying to find others also in the country. But as you know, last year we were not able to get 7 teachers. So it's a cumulative deficit that we have to face and see how we can resolve that. It's going to be it's going to be tough, and we're working on solutions to make sure that every class has a teacher, and then we support those teachers to be successful. But it's a nightmare.
How many teachers are we talking about?
Around 10.
And that doesn't include interns, because interns are also a concern?
No, it doesn't include interns. You're talking about another year without interns.
Oh, wow.
And which means, again, morning duties, starting the school at 7:30 would be difficult to do for parents to do early drop-off. So we will have, at this point, we're planning on a drop-off at 7:45, 15 minutes before school starts, and not 30 minutes before, because it's very unlikely that we will have the interns. Maybe things may change with J7 or NATO summit, and President Biden will come back and change things. But at this point, we're trying to build a plan, work on a plan B, and make sure that our school function on day one.
And am I correct in thinking, I mean, the issue is not just they're struggling to get visa appointments, but the borders are closed. They're not being allowed in.
That's the issue, yeah.
Yeah.
The issue is the borders are closed for a few countries like this, European Union countries, from China, from Latin America. At this point, West Africa is not part of the border closure, and some other part of the world. We're trying to see if we can find teachers from Martinique or the Caribbean, French-speaking Caribbean too, if we can find teachers coming from there. So another initiative we're working, Madam Royce, Mr. Jarrett, and myself, we are attending a series of training with EdFull. EdFull is an organization hired or compensated by School Smart to help charter school in their career and human resource department, and for how to build a hiring plan, and how to be attractive, and so on. So it's a monthly meeting, and this is I think it's already very interesting. As I just said, Mulai Sedi is a vice principal for next year. He has been with AL for 11 years as a teacher. He has been team leaders also. He was an MA in school leadership from UCM, and is currently working on a doctorate in educational leadership at UCM, at UMKC. So just to, he will start on July 1st, join our team for the planning process. Any question about this? So the other one I just talked to you about, Bellwether. Bellwether is an organization, let me back up a little bit. When we receive our high school grant from School Smart KC, part of the process of getting the high school grant was that School Smart KC hired an organization to do a due diligence and analyze our school and give them a report. And one of the observations that organization gave to School Smart KC was that our school is understaffed, central office is understaffed, is functioning with a very lean central office staff. So, and one of the, I wouldn't say condition, but recommendation or part of the grant we signed is that we will work with an organization to do our organizational needs, staffing needs. So School Smart is paying Bellwether to help us. It was not on Bellwether, it was Bellwether and 3 other organizations who submitted bid, and we worked with School Smart and chose Bellwether. Jackie and I have been working with them, but also they met with many staff members to discuss our staffing needs. And they will present the report once it's done to the board and to ourselves also, and see how we can reorganize our organizational chart and what are our needs for staffing.
I will say I'm really glad that was a requirement. My impression has always been that we have way too lean of a staff who seem to work around the clock, and that is worrisome. So I'm glad you have somebody looking at that.
Yeah. And they have been very thorough in there. They're meeting with a lot of people, and Jackie and I have a meeting every week with them to look at where they are and answer their questions. For next year also, the first quarter learning progression have been already completed. You know, the last 4 days of school, we use the last 2 days of teachers to work on next year's learning progressions. And one project we're considering is how to improve or strengthen the K2 program in French and mathematics. So I'm planning to work with a team of teachers to make recommendations for improving the K2 program for next year. School starting for next year, we've changed it a little bit. Now that we do not have any more families having kids both at Oak and Cherry, the 2 elementary will be K5, and they will be starting at the same time, 8:15, 3:45. I remember that we added 30 minutes a few years ago for reading intervention that will come back next year. Hopefully we'll have enough staff to be able to do that. And Armor, it will start 8 to 3:30. Armor is starting earlier because of all the kids here. Some of them go to Cherry to take their younger kids to be with them for their parents to come and drive them home. So that's why Armor currently, last school year, Armor started at 8:15, and Oak at 8, Cherry at 8:30. Now we will have only 2 start time and 2 end time for next year. Any other questions? So any question about anything?
Are we gonna meet about those MB tests or something?
Yes, I was planning to do it this year, but because UCM is coming, it would have been too much. So we were supposed to meet in discuss it in the leadership team. But anyway, we will have to find a time to call. I would call Bruce. Bruce is our data guy who is presenting our data, achievement data to the board. We'll do it once we are ready to do it, to present it.
Okay, I'd like to have, I think, you know, that's another thing that we have to discuss before we, before August. Just, I'd like to have it before you're end up, when you get rid of July meeting, you're gonna end up piling a lot on in August. And we're gonna end up with a terrible meeting. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, no, that's duly noted. I was a little concerned about that as well, but yeah, I guess it's whatever everybody wants. If that's what everybody feels like, I guess if we can, do that. Or maybe just instead of canceling the August meeting, have an abbreviated meeting. I don't know.
Right. I mean, and just pick certain.
That's right.
Like the testing or it's just 2 items. You don't have to go through the finances and that kind of stuff. There's certain issues here. I'm not sure you want to put off to first day of school, and we're going to be interested in how school is going to gear up, I guess, my question.
Right.
And so
One thing also, I don't know what you think is, because we're doing the strategic plan, maybe Gwen will let me know. Part of it is, should we invite him to make a presentation? It's not going to take a long time, I think, for you to know where we are with NWEA.
You're talking board meeting? Or excuse me, the retreat, or the retreat?
The 26th, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I like that idea.
I'll ask him if he's will be available. The thing is, I may not be in the country. I'm not sure yet. I have to talk to him and see. Or otherwise, we can do it. In July or.
Yeah, let's just keep the July meeting, but just have it be abbreviated, and then we can just have 2 or 3 agenda items, and
Okay.
that way we don't have to move all these things around.
the other thing is, when do you meet with your committee about your policy? Like how long are we going to continue to wear masks? And social distance. When does that committee meet, and when does that move forward?
Okay, the last committee meeting was Thursday, June the 28th or 20-some, the last Thursday of June. That's the last meeting of the committee. The committee developed a summer school plan and integrate mask. So you had a conversation about that, and what was retained was we will be keeping the mask on the 28th. So outside for summer school, kids will still be able to take off their mask, but inside the building they will be using their mask.
Okay.
That's what we discussed. So now, if there is other data showing that kids, because whatever we're doing is going to be based on research and I mean medical research and recommendation about schools. That's what we're going to follow. So if there is medical research saying schools don't wear masks, I mean, we have no reason to keep the mask.
I do. I feel like we've always followed what CDC recommends, and they haven't updated the mask policy for schools yet. I will be curious. I mean, the policy in general is adults who can prove they're vaccinated don't have to wear a mask. So I will be curious to see how that translates into school recommendations, but I know I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
So we will also, whenever we're making a decision, we will look at that, the CDC recommendation, medical research, but also we look around what's happening in other school districts. So that's what we do. And then we will look at it and make the best decision for our school and for our kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any question again before we move forward? Harry, you and I were supposed to meet this week.
Yes, you're
Okay,
supposed to.
I'll send you an invitation.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll have coffee.
We'll have coffee.
I like coffee.
Without mask. Okay.
Yeah, I want to go to a coffee shop. Okay.
All right. I don't have anything. There weren't any updates from Missouri Public Charter School Association. Yes, since the legislative session ended last month. Don't really have any new business, old business. Only thing I have to say is that, this will be my last official or regularly scheduled board meeting. I guess I'm not officially no longer the president until after July 1. But it's been a pleasure to serve as the board chair for the last 4 years, which it seems like a long time. I think we have a great group of board members. I think we're headed in the right direction. Yeah, no, it's been a fun ride from the beginning, from 11 years ago now when I started, to being board chair and now stepping down. So like I said, it was a pleasure. It's always fulfilling to volunteer for a school as good as Académie Lafayette. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to point out that during John's tenure, we acquired a new building, started a high school, and I think dealt with the pandemic as about the best we could. So I'd also like to say that I thought John has done a wonderful job, and I'd like to thank him for his service on this board.
Thank you. No, I didn't do any of that by myself.
You oversaw it. You oversaw it. I'm sure I left a lot of other things out too, but those are the big items that come to mind.
All right. Well, no,
thank you, John.
I appreciate it.
And I would say, I wasn't on the board prior to you. I joined right after you became president, but from what I could tell, you really took the board to the next level and made it more a governance board with clear sort of roles and responsibilities, and really just made it a more formalized board in really important ways that I think were critical to really taking the school to the next level as well.
Thank you. That definitely was one of my goals, was to do that. So.
And John, I want to also thank you for your service, for bringing me on the board. And it's been so tough, trying to do all of this virtual and all, but you've been amazing. So thank you for your leadership.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And John, I would just ditto all that's been said. I mean, I think you've been a great leader, and it's been, very exciting being a part of this board and having you in leadership. So I just thank you for all that you've done, because I kind of joined too when I think you first were on board, and I just think it's been a great ride and I've enjoyed all of it. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, everybody doesn't have to say something, so we can move on.
I think you're all right, John.
All right. Like I said, it definitely was a pleasure serving with everybody. I think we have a good group of people, and I'm not leaving the board. I'm just not going to be president anymore. So, all right. I think we did have a closed session item, so we'll have to take a vote to go into closed session to discuss HR items.
So
moved, Michelle.
Second, Harriet.
Right, we need a roll call vote. Let's see, Michael.
Yes.
Harriet.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Gwen.
Yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Tanya.
Yes.
And I believe we lost Marvin, so I think that's everybody. All right, we are in closed session. I guess everybody who's not a board member drops. Does Mr. Banks stay or no?